Hello, and welcome to part 2 of my Echo Fighters video. I'd highly recommend you go watch part 1 before continuing, because you won't understand the context for this. So the next character we're going to talk about is Dark Samus. Dark Samus is a character from the Metroid series. She's a villain character who was created from Metroid Prime absorbing Samus's Phazon suit, like around the end of the game. She's been a very highly requested character. Like I remember back during Smash 4, a lot of people expected to see her in as a playable character, but she was included as an assist trophy instead, much in the same way as Shadow. And much like Shadow, people think that because her assist trophy hasn't been seen yet, that it's possible that she's going to be included as an Echo Fighter for Samus. I think this is possible, but more than that, it's just more than just we don't have an assist trophy. In Smash 4, Samus had an alternate color for Dark Samus, but that's been replaced with one based on the Demolition Troopers from Metroid Prime 3, I believe it was. And so people think that they're doing that in order to prevent people from confusing Samus with Dark Samus, because she'd be an Echo Fighter. I think this is likely, but I don't think it's anything really concrete. Another thing that I've heard people bring up is that Ridley's victory theme is just like a dark interpretation of the item get theme that's used for Samus's victory theme, instead of just one that's specifically designed for him. So people have thought, well, this might be an indication that we could get Dark Samus as an Echo Fighter, but that's not necessarily the case. I mean, in Brawl Onward, Meta Knight has had his own unique victory theme compared to Kirby and Dedede. I mean, by that same logic, then there would kind of be an indication that there'd be another Kirby character that would use a very similar theme. Maybe Galactonite, but that hasn't been the case. He's just had that theme as its own standalone thing. So, while I understand why people would come to that conclusion, I just disagree. I don't think it's an indication of anything. But anyways, Dark Samus is a character that I've heard a lot of people mention, and yeah, she seems like she'd fit really well as an Echo Fighter for Samus. I mean, she uses a lot of the same moves that Samus does, like missiles. She can also go into Morph Ball mode, so dropping Morph Ball bombs, that'd be an easy thing. She sometimes uses an attack that's kind of similar to a screw attack, so I could see that being incorporated into her up special. She doesn't really use a charge shot, but she uses more like a rapid fire blast. But I could see them kind of making a bit of an exception with regards to that, because they're very, very similar either way. But as one way that they could maybe differentiate the two, like on a physics basis, maybe you could have Dark Samus be faster than Samus, a bit lighter than Samus, because, well, in Metroid Prime 3 specifically, she becomes really agile, really acrobatic compared to Samus. Samus is already pretty acrobatic herself. But she's much faster, she's much lighter, and I can see that being a nice trade-off. Like, Samus is more powerful, Dark Samus is a little less powerful, but has more speed to compensate. So it would be more about just rush down, just going in and just attacking really, really fast, getting a lot of hits in. It would definitely work as a way to differentiate the two. So yeah, there's a lot to work with regards to Dark Samus. But there are a few problems, and one that I think has been mentioned a few times, like I've heard it mentioned, is that we just got Ridley. And he was a very highly demanded character by the Western audience, like Sakurai himself has even said that. So it would seem kind of greedy, almost, to desire another Metroid character after we already got Ridley. And, it's also the fact that the Metroid series isn't as popular overseas as it is in the West, and almost seems sort of like a bit of favoritism, because, the Western fan base got, 2 Metroid characters, but the Japanese fan base doesn't really care too much about them. Even right now, the Japanese fan base is sort of I guess, I don't know if it's mocking or just like a playful teasing, but they come up with a nickname for Ridley. They call him Captain America because a lot of people really, a lot of people in America in particular really like Ridley, and that's why he was included. So it kind of seemed unfair to them. But on the same token, an Echo Fighter is somebody who's included just really simply just thrown in there. Really simply based on another fighter just thrown in there. So I can see them making an exception there. So maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, but I really think that it's something to consider. Like, it's something just to keep in mind. When you're going on about Dark Samus and her chances. It's just something to think about. So the last up on this list of really popular picks for potential Echo Fighters is Chrom. Chrom's from Fire Emblem. He was a character who a lot of people pegged for getting into Smash 4. Like, people were thinking like he's a shoo-in, like he's the most recent Fire Emblem Lord character, so it would make sense for him to be included. And at one point, Sakurai did say that he considered Chrom and Robin at the same time, like including both of them. But whereas Robin was really easy and it all just came very naturally, like, oh, this would be a really cool idea for what would they be able to do, it'd be so cool, so unique. Chrom didn't really have that. He was something, like, Sakurai considered him something of a mix between Marth and Ike, and he ultimately just wouldn't be all that different from either of the two. So he decided to just put Chrom in as part of Robin's Final Smash as pair-up, which kind of makes sense because, they're companions, they're really close companions in the games, and it kind of makes sense. But a lot of people really, they really didn't take too kindly to that. Like, this was mocked by a lot of people, and hell, even Sakurai himself got into it. Like, during the Palutena's guidance conversation, like, there's this whole conversation about Chrom not being included, and there was also the Mii Fighter costume, so it's like, oh, yeah, you can sort of have Chrom. Basically, it's become something of a running joke. So with the advent of this new game, it kind of makes sense that he would make the jump. I mean, if him being really similar to other characters was enough to get him snubbed for Smash 4, but they introduced something that allows, that kind of circumvents that. You don't really have to be too original in your moveset. It would make sense for Chrom to be included as an Echo Fighter. But more than that, I mean, we haven't seen him at all in terms of Robin's Final Smash. We haven't seen Robin's Final Smash at all, though we've seen most of them. Robin's is the only one out of the ones that we haven't seen that includes a character assist, like another character as part of that Final Smash, unless something's changed with the other ones we haven't seen, I don't know. Also, out of all the Fire Emblem characters, Robin's Final Smash is the only one that hasn't been shown. Like, Marth, Lucina, and Royce have all been shown during their character trailers. Ike's been shown, I think, like, he was playable on the show floor at E3, so his Final Smash has been seen. It's still a great Aether. And Corrin's Final Smash has been shown off during the initial unveiling. So it seems kind of suspect that Robin's is the only one you haven't seen. Like, that would have been a great way to finish off the character trailer. A quick shot of Chrom coming in there, slashing things up, but they didn't do that. And so it kind of, tinfoil hat on here, it kind of seems suspicious. It kind of seems like Chrom has been included as an Echo Fighter, and maybe they changed the Final Smash and they just don't want to show people, just leave them guessing. Which, it makes sense. You don't want to show your hand completely. You want to leave a few surprises in there. But it makes sense. Also, the Chrom color for Ike has been replaced. I mean, it's no longer there. So, well, it's much like with Dark Samus, that's not really a confirmation, but it's something to consider. Of course, this could also be because Ike now has both his Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn outfits. Skinny boy Ike and buff swole boy Ike. So, some colors, some costumes had to go. And, that makes sense too. So it's probably more likely. But, it's still something to consider. Now, in terms of a moveset, I mean, yeah, I kind of already came to the same kind of conclusion that Sakurai would, that he'd be sort of like a a mix between Marth and Ike in terms of both the movement speed and attack power. It would make more sense for him to be an Echo Fighter for Ike as opposed to Marth, because Marth already has Lucina. Lucina sticks really rigidly to what Marth does. Like that's her whole shtick in the game. So, you know, it makes sense. There's nothing about Ike's moveset that would really pose a problem. I mean, he uses Aether, like similar to how Ike does. Ike's standard special and down special don't exactly reference anything particularly in the game, so I can see them maybe changing a few things for those. More specifically, like the standard special. Like maybe you could have it that it has like a shorter charge time, it doesn't cause an explosion or create pillars of flames, you know, something like that. Ike's side special is actually based on his critical hit animation from his games, but given how general of an animation it is, I could see them kind of just letting Chrom do that kind of attack, you know, because it doesn't, it's not really that big of a you know, deep of a reference. It could work. His final smash could be his critical hit animation from Awakening, so yeah, that's pretty, that works pretty well. Of course, there's the problem that, you know, the Fire Emblem series, for what it is, has like 6 characters, which, you know, even Sakurai says is a bit much, considering what, you know, Fire Emblem is. But I still think that there's an exception that can be made for characters like Echo Fighters, or at least for Chrom. I mean, you know, it just makes too much sense to me. But it's definitely something to consider. But yeah, I really can't think of all that any reasons why he wouldn't be included, aside from Fire Emblem having too many characters, too many very, very similar characters. But, you know, I wouldn't say Chrom is a shoo-in, like, at all, but I would say that it's very, very likely that we'll be seeing him. Alright, so that's it for the characters that were the most discussed, at least from what I've seen or heard. Overall, I can understand why a lot of people would see them as very likely. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to suspect that they could be included, but again, it's not a concrete confirmation. Of course, you know, a lot of these tend to get very tinfoil hatty, you know, like, oh, let's just read between the lines, try to find things that aren't really there. I mean, you know, you just gotta keep a healthy dose of skepticism involved with this kind of speculation, you know? Don't go too pie in the sky, otherwise you'll be like Ridley fans during Smash 4. You know, all they do is just go, oh my god, guys, you know, it's totally confirmed, Ridley's gonna be a character. Look, he grabbed Pikachu, like, you can see his shadow there, you can sort of see his tail, he's a playable character, I still have hope, and then it's like, no. You know, Occam's razor, the simplest answer is often the most correct, and the simplest answer was that he was just a stage hazard for Pyrosphere. But anyways, that'll be the end of part 2. I'm splitting this up again. So in the next part, I'll be covering characters who I haven't heard as frequently, but who I still think have good, you know, have good enough potential, and who definitely could make it in as an Echo Fighter. Again, regardless of if I actually think they should be an Echo Fighter, just if they can fit in that role. Like, even if it's not very likely, even if they can fit in that role. You know, it's just because it's just fun to speculate about this kind of stuff. So I will see you in part 3. Thank you for watching this part. Make sure to watch the other part if you haven't already for some odd reason. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.